that the climate is changing. And we know that our forests will have to adapt to these changes. It's uncertain just how much the climate will change and how fast it will happen. However, it is clear that climate change is happening faster now than humans have ever experienced. Natural resource managers, who are responsible for forest stewardship and conservation, are working with scientists and the public to learn how we can keep forests healthy and productive through this time of rapid change. Helping our forests cope with their new and changing climate is called forest adaptation. Forest adaptation better enables us to sustain the many things we value, appreciate, and benefit from in our forests. Every forest has a diverse range of unique features. Likewise, there is a diverse range of ideas about how we as humans value each forest. Some people may place the highest value on forest recreation activities, such as hiking, hunting, boating, or bird watching. Some see lumber production or water quality as the highest priority. Others believe that the forest has value in and of itself, regardless of human interaction. People all have their own viewpoints, which ultimately influence decisions about forest management. Through this time of change, forest stewards work directly with scientists and the public to make sound management decisions based upon a balanced set of diverse values. They aim to keep forests healthy and productive and to minimize the risk of losing what we value by adapting to the new climatic conditions. Approaches to forest adaptation fall into three broad categories: resistance, resilience, and transition. Given diverse values and resources, we can expect the same diversity in adaptation approaches as we currently see in approaches to forest stewardship. People choose resistance approaches when they highly value a forest and they do not want it to change. For example, a forest may provide habitat to an endangered species, and resource managers may do what they can to maintain the habitat, even as the changing climate pressures the forest to change. For example, California's mountain lakes are home to several species of native amphibians, including the Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frog and the Yosemite toad. Many of the deeper lakes in these mountains have been stocked for fishing with non-native trout, which eat frog and toad eggs. As the climate changes, higher water temperatures and lower water levels might affect the shallower lakes where amphibians can currently breed without trout predation. One proposed solution is to remove fish from a few deep, ecologically valuable lakes, providing some deeper, cooler waters in which amphibian eggs can survive and hatch. This strategy could sustain a breeding habitat for these amphibians for a while. However, it's possible that eventually conditions could change so much that even those deeper mountain lakes would not be suitable, or another factor could affect the survival of their eggs. Resistance approaches can become increasingly risky as climate pressure increases, but many people consider resistance approaches to be a necessary short-term choice for special ecosystems or habitats. The second of our three broad adaptation approaches is resilience. By encouraging greater resilience in an ecosystem, it may be able to rebound more easily from disturbances like fire or insect damage, and keep its special characteristics as the climate changes. A forest that is not resilient to climate change can shift into another type of forest, or even change to a non-forested ecosystem. These shifts may result in degraded ecosystems that do not offer the same benefits or biodiversity. For example, In parts of the southwestern United States, years of fire suppression have resulted in stands of native ponderosa pine and dry mixed conifer species that are far denser than natural conditions. While ponderosa pine is fire adapted, the health of these ecosystems is dependent on regular low-severity fire. A severe wildfire can lead to a fundamental shift in the mix of species, sometimes preventing pines from growing back. Climate change is increasing severe wildfire risk in the western United States, making the risk to these ecosystems even greater. Management strategies to help increase the resilience of these forests may include reducing the amount of fuel for fires through prescribed burning and thinning dense stands of trees. Even in a hotter, drier climate, this could help reduce the severity of wildfires, allowing the ponderosa pine ecosystem to more easily recuperate after burning. Trying to maintain an existing forest by enhancing its resilience is often considered a safe approach for protecting valued forest characteristics. Unfortunately, the climate may ultimately change more than the resilience capabilities of some forest ecosystems, meaning they may become increasingly unhealthy and unable to fully recover from disturbances. A resilience approach may not be a safe long-term option in all forests. Our third approach is transition. In forests where people decide resistance and resilience approaches may fail to maintain the qualities they value, they may choose to transition the existing forests into ecosystems that are better adapted to future climates. Transition approaches seek to maintain forest health and other things we value, but also work to gradually accommodate change over time. For example, on the Menominee Indian Reservation in northern Wisconsin, forests are being affected by a fungal disease called oak wilt. To stop the spread of the disease, managers need to remove the affected red oak trees, leaving large gaps. Managers are restoring these sites by planting species like white oak and bur oak that are better adapted to the range of future climates projected in the area and that aren't susceptible to oak wilt. In this case, the forests will still be providing the same types of services, but with a slightly different mix of plant species compared to what was there before. Many communities and organizations are already considering climate change in their land management planning by pursuing resistance, resilience, transition, or often a combination of these options. In one example, communities on the Colorado Plateau in southern Utah are concerned about climate change causing longer droughts and more extreme precipitation events. Holding water on the landscape in ponds and wetlands will become increasingly important in order to have that water available in drier periods for both ecosystem and human use. Land managers decided to reintroduce beaver to the landscape because these animals re-engineer waterways and riparian areas, enhancing features like ponds and aquifers that retain water. Other benefits of reintroducing beaver include reduced erosion, greater biodiversity, and a lower risk of damaging floods downstream. Although climate change means dramatic changes for many forests, the techniques that are used in forest adaptation are not necessarily very different from traditional forest management techniques. We can think of natural resource managers as having a toolbox of actions that can be used to support stewardship goals, such as tree planting and harvesting, stream bank restoration, soil conservation, species reintroduction, and pest control. Forest adaptation doesn't necessarily require new tools, but it will require us to use familiar tools in new and different ways. For example, we may be adjusting which trees we choose to harvest or encourage, or altering the timing of our stewardship activities. Forest management is a long-term investment, and the decisions that we make today will strongly affect future management options and the types of landscapes that future generations will enjoy. The climate will continue to change for many decades to come, and the extent of climate change and its effects on forests will depend heavily on how much greenhouse gas pollution we continue to release and actions we take. This means that for the foreseeable future, forest managers and the public need to make near-term decisions without knowing exactly how much the climate will change in the long term. We know enough now to begin taking steps toward helping our forests to adapt. But we need to learn quickly, share our lessons with each other, and be willing to adjust our own expectations and actions. The great diversity in perspectives and approaches among forest managers and communities will increase our chances for success in protecting our forests and their many characteristics that we value. To learn more about what forest adaptation actions may be taking place near you, visit the CCRC Adaptation Examples page.